Hi, I'm Jeff Tobe, and welcome to the Coloring Outside the Lines webinar series. Today's edition is about customer engagement. And remember, I define customer as internal or external customer. In our book, Coloring Outside... Hi, I'm Jeff Tobe, and welcome to the Coloring Outside the Lines webinar series. Today's session is on customer engagement. And remember, I define customer engagement as internal or external. In our new book, Anticipate, Knowing What Customers Need Before They Do, we developed a 10-point customer framework. Now, I'm not going to go through all 10 points today. We don't have time. But the two I want to focus on are customer engagement and employee engagement. You know, some brands have done an amazing job of engaging their customers. Southwest Airlines. I was on a flight recently from Chicago to Oakland, California, and they had the entire plane singing a song. Now, I know it's very superficial, but even at that level, that's engaging our customers. My friends who own a Lexus say that they're part of the Lexus Club. And friends who ride a bike, I don't ride, but own a Harley Davidson, say that Harley Davidson has done an amazing job of engaging their customer over the last decade or so. How did they do it? They do it by this, turning touch points into dialogues. In the book, we call them anticipate moments. You've probably heard me before, and you've heard me define touch point, but it's any opportunity we have to influence the customer experience. Any opportunity anybody in the organization has to influence the customer experience. So I think it starts with congruency. What do I mean? Asking ourselves, do all my teammates, do all our employees walk around telling the same story? Is it a congruent story? Even if it's just about our history or about success stories, are we all walking the same walk? Recently, I spoke at a very large conference in Toronto. I did the keynote. Then I was doing a breakout or a workshop later in the day. My host said to me, just go to any workshop in between that you want. So I saw this one, improve your efficiency with the latest technology. And I thought, who wouldn't want to go to that? I mean, I am an entrepreneur. I run a small business. I want to know how to improve my efficiency. I opened the door to peek in, and here's what I found: 8 flip charts. Now, hold on a second. Improve your efficiency with the latest technology, and they're using 8 flip charts. That is not a congruent message. Here's another one just for fun. You know, I think the sign's placement has everything to do with congruency. How about you? All right. So it starts by asking ourselves about motivation. What motivates our customer to buy from us, to do something we're asking them to do, internal or external? If I were to say to you, imagine you have 100 people who work for you, and then ask you, how do you motivate your people? You probably hear answers, I know the number one answer is always money, right? Money. You know what I like to say? It's not just money. Let's call it incentive. It's that proverbial carrot dangling in front of somebody. But then some of you might say, what motivates your people? A challenge. Yeah, some people are motivated by a challenge. Give it to me. Give it to my team. I'll prove to you we can get it done. Some people are motivated by appreciation. And by the way, under that umbrella of appreciation, I put 2 very different kinds of people. First is the person like me who's motivated by recognition. You know, put my name in the newsletter, tell everybody how great I am, give me an award at the awards banquet. Very public recognition. But under that same umbrella of appreciation, there's also people who are motivated by praise. What's that? Just saying, Bob, thank you so much for being here. You are doing a great job. Now, Bob might be embarrassed by you making it public recognition, but he still needs that praise once in a while. And some of you might say, I motivate my people by people are motivated by doing it right. You know, they're quality driven. So if that's true, you know, give it to me and I'll do it right. But none of this is true. The American Marketing Association did a study, and to 10,000 workers in diverse industries and professions across the United States, they sent out one question: what motivates you? The number one answer, which was 27% above number 2, which was incentive, you probably didn't think of. The number one answer: fear. F-E-A-R, fear. And it's not like, ooh, scared fear. It's fear of loss of security. I'm motivated to work from 8 to 5 because I can't afford to lose my job. So I don't want you to just think of motivation as a positive thing. As a matter of fact, I want to share with you some rules to motivation. And the number one rule is that you can't motivate anyone. I want to take the weight off a lot of your shoulders, especially if you're in a supervisory role or a leadership role. You can't motivate anyone. I get on an airplane and somebody says to me, what do you do for a living? I say, I'm a professional speaker. They go, oh, you're a motivational speaker. And I cringe because I don't believe there is such a thing. But the reason I even say that is because I think that my job with an audience is no different than your job, no matter what you do for a living. My job is to create an environment in which people are motivated to go do something, but I can't motivate them. Your job should be to create that environment for your people or your customer to go do what you need them to do, but you can't motivate them. The second rule is that everyone is motivated. Ever have that experience? You walk in and there's Jane. Every morning, Jane puts her feet up on her desk, grabs her newspaper, cup of coffee, and does nothing. And you sit there and you say to somebody, what are we going to do with Jane? She's just not motivated. Oh, yes, she is. Jane is motivated to sit there and do nothing. Unless you're dead, you're motivated. So you can't motivate anyone. Everyone is motivated. And the third is that everyone is motivated for their reasons, not yours. In other words, we have to see the world through their eyes, not ours. And the last one, if I know more about you than I have before, I can manage the situation. It simply means that I may have worked with you for years, but I don't know what motivates you. So I've got to learn some questions. I've got to learn how to dig deeper to find out what motivates you so I can work with you in a way in which you need to be worked with. So let's talk about this. I think that your customers always have two mountains to climb. Quick story. In another lifetime, I was a manufacturer's rep. And one year, the factory for whom I worked got creative. And instead of bringing us to the factory to see the new line of goods, they took us on an outward bound experience. Outward Bound is simply an international organization, and it's always a wilderness experience based around two things, leadership and team building. The one they took us on was in Leadville, Colorado, and we were going to climb rocks. Rock climbing. Now, I've never in my life had an ambition to climb a rock, but it was one of those things where the company said, be there, and we had to show up. We spent the first 4 hours training on how to climb rocks, safety and everything else. After 4 hours, they put us at the base of a sheer 90-foot rock face and said, you're going to climb to the top. Now, I need more of an incentive than some guy telling me to climb the rock. So I remember turning to Craig on my left, a friend of mine. I said, Craig, I'll bet you $25 I can get there first. He said, you're on. But I forgot about the other two guys. Other guy said, wait, I'm in. Other guy said, wait, I'm in. So now it's 9 stories of rock and $100 worth of rock. There's an incentive here. Now, each one of us has a guide from Outward Bound. I'll never forget Joe. Joe was my guide. Because at that point, Joe whispered in my ear. He said, Jeff, for $50, I'll get you there first. I think this is what the brochure meant about team building. I said, Joe, safe and first, you're on. He said, here's what you do. Don't let the others hear you. Right there at about 2.5 feet, you see that little ledge sticking out? I said, I see it. He said, when you start, stick your right foot on that ledge. And do you see this rock right here at eye level right in front of you? Grab that rock with your right hand, pull yourself up. You're on your way. I've done this 1,000 times before. Next, he said, see that branch about at 14, 15 feet without any leaves on it? I said, I see it, Joe. He said, grab that branch with your left hand. It doesn't look like it'll hold your weight, but it will. I've done this 1,000 times before. Next. So verbally, he walked me up the whole face of the rock. Somebody yelled, go. I put my foot at 2.5 feet. I grab that rock and I pull myself up. I am on my way. I go to grab that branch at 15 feet. I can't reach it. No matter what I do, I can't reach it. And as I'm trying, Joe yells at me, grab the stupid branch. I said, Joe, I can't. I'm going to die. I'm 2.5 feet off the ground. I have 1 foot on the ground and I'm going to die. But it's my perspective. And as I'm reaching for that rock, or that branch, I start to feel a rock that's sticking out and I keep rubbing my knuckles up against it. So I immediately grab the rock, pull myself up. It holds my weight. As I do, Joe yells at me, no, that's not right. I said, it's right for me, Joe. I grabbed something else. He said, no, you can't win that way. He yelled at me the entire way up the face of the rock. Did I make it to the top? Absolutely. Did I win? Absolutely not. But I learned something that I want to share with you today. And that is that I have to trust that Outward Bound has given me the right tools, the belays, the ropes. And then I have to believe that getting to the top of the rock truly is my goal. But how I get there is totally up to me. In other words, as long as I use the tools they give me and the goal doesn't change, Who cares how I get there? When we're talking about engaging our customers, I need you to be a little more flexible with your thinking. As long as they use the tools we give them and the goal doesn't change, who cares how we get there? So let me share the two mountains your customers have to climb and some proven methods to get your customers more engaged. First, you do realize that every one of your customers, no matter where you're located in the world, only listen to one radio station. That's WII-FM. Some of you know what it stands for, I'm sure. It's what's in it for me. In other words, if we go into an interaction thinking that they're looking at things from their perspective and asking themselves, what's in it for me, it changes the way we do business automatically. So the first mountain that your clients climb is to be listened to. It's a huge mountain. Now, for some people, this is a little easier and this may sound a little fluffy, but your clients simply will need to be listened to. So I wanted to give you a tool to do that. It's a simple question. If you would start a question with what effect, it will completely start to change the way you do business with your customers. But it has to actually start with a problem. So your client brings you, or customer brings you a problem, internal or external, and what do we want to do? Automatically, we want to solve it. You know, I've got a problem, I can't find parking in your parking lot. And all of a sudden we say, okay, let me tell you what we can do. We have an overflow lot just down the street. Instead, I want you to bite your tongue and ask the person a what effect question. What effect does that have? What effect does that have on your family? What effect does that have on the business? What effect will that have on your project? Whatever it is, all we've done is taken it one step deeper. And subconsciously, our customer is now saying, oh, you know what? They're listening. But it's the second mountain that's the hardest. The second mountain, and I will tease you a little bit before I go into this, when we develop these questions, I will tell you, in my business, and I'm going back 30 years ago, not only did it change the way we worked with each other internally, it completely changed the way we worked externally. It completely changed the way, as an added benefit, changed the way I parent my children. And bottom line is, I think that it increased our bottom line literally by 10% in a year. The second one is that your customer needs to know that you understand. It's not good enough just to say, I'm listening. The next mountain is that I understand. And there are two words that are probably the most powerful words in starting a question with your customer to get them engaged and tell them that you understand. The two words fit into that slot. Do you have any guesses? All right, I'll give them to you. What if? What if? I want to take you through a series of what ifing that will completely change the way you work with your customer, internal and external, can add to your bottom line, change the way you parent with your kids, and also, depending on what industry you're in, change the stereotype of the experience people expect to have with you. At its very basic level, what ifing does one simple thing. It shatters the stereotype that your customers expect to have. Let's try something. Let's imagine that you have a regular meeting at your company or your business. I want you to try something. I want you to appoint somebody the night before, tell them they are the what if questioner of the day. Their job is to come to the meeting and ask the most bizarre, totally unwork related, unreal what if question they can think of. What if humans didn't need to sleep? What if hair grew inward? All right? And then go around, have everybody answer it. What do you think is going to happen? Well, first of all, people who don't normally participate are now saying, ooh, anything I say couldn't be nearly as bizarre as what just went on here. And they start to become more engaged. So let's try a simple what if question. I would love you to think of just benefits. Ready? What if you had 7 fingers on each hand? Quickly, benefits? All right, probably things like I could wear more jewelry, right? Love to be in the massage business or the glove business. You could count to, let me think, 14, actually 24, because you still got 10 toes. We could give each other high 7s, right? Lots of stuff. But, my favorite one, I was in New York City and I asked the same question. What if you had 7 fingers on each hand? By the way, I love New Yorkers. I just think they have a different attitude about the business world. And one of the guys said, that's easy. I'd name each one after a day of the week, Monday through Sunday. He said, when I miss my cab in downtown Manhattan, I give the guy a Wednesday. I'm not going to demonstrate, but you get the idea, and hopefully you're smiling. At its very basic level, what ifing does one simple thing. It shatters the stereotype, the experience somebody expects to have with you. So let's take it a step deeper. Imagine for a minute that you work for me, and I come to you and I say, Jane, I know you normally get in at 8 o'clock. We've got that huge project going on. There's no way that I can finish it without your piece. I want you here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. And I walk away. How would that make you feel if you were Jane? Yeah, upset? Did a Wednesday come to mind? But would you do it? Probably. And then I come to you a week later and I say, Jane, thanks so much for last week. We got the project. I got another biggie, and I can't finish it without you again. I know you normally get here at 8. I want you here at 6:30 tomorrow. And I walk away. How do you feel now? There are only 2 Wednesdays. Yeah, and this is the way I used to work with my people. Now, I was far more tactful. Jane, you're part of the team. I can't do it without you. Could you please come in tomorrow and get this done? And besides Wednesdays, I'd walk away and my people would be saying, how do I do that? And so I discovered many years ago, what if at this level? Imagine the same scenario. Jane, we've got a big project, blah, blah, blah. What if you came in tomorrow at 7 o'clock instead of 8 to get it done? I want to teach you a very sophisticated engagement technique called BYT. Bite your tongue. I can't tell you over 26 years of doing this, how many people I've traveled with, sat with, listened to on the phone who ask a question and then answer it themselves. Instead, it's time to listen. Jane, what if you came in tomorrow at 6:30 instead of 8? Jane says, Jeff, I can't. I can't take my youngest to the babysitter before 6:15, which means I couldn't get here till close to 7. And I say, Jane, could you do that every day this week? And she said, no, but I could stay late Thursday night. What did I just open up? I opened up a dialogue that I didn't allow to exist before because of the way I used to work with people. So I said, and by the way, you better be careful when you open up a dialogue. You better be careful that it's what you want to, where you want the conversation to go. We'll talk about that more. But I said to myself, if it works at work, it'll work at home. Big mistake. I don't know how many of you have children, but we have always used a disciplinary technique in our home called timeout, right? You're familiar with timeout? My parents thought that we were totally out of our minds. Just hit the kid. Whole different philosophy. Anyway, we've always used timeout. I remember when my then 3-year-old, who by the way is about to be 30, so it's a long time ago, but I remember very clearly I was angry. Don't remember why, but I looked at her and I said, you get into your room, you get into timeout, you figure out why you did what you just did. In her mind, very threatening. But right after that, I discovered what if. And to this day, when my kids were home, well, I shouldn't say that, one is still home, you know how that works, but when they were younger, it became a habit. No matter how angry I was with my kids, I always started with what if. What if you went in your room and you figured out why you just hit your little sister? In her mind, less threatening, and it opens up a dialogue. Not that I would listen to a word they had to say when I was angry with them. Actually, if you have young adults now, you know what it's like. I'll say, what if? And they'll say, I'll tell you why, Dad. And we have this conversation that just blows me away. Why? Like I said, don't open up a conversation, a dialogue, unless you're willing to hear what you're about to hear. So let me take it one step deeper and how we made money at it. So imagine for a minute that I don't have one here, but I have a coffee mug in my hand. And I come to you and I say, Bob, thanks so much for speaking to me about what you should give away in your trade show booth. So let's go to its deepest level. How did we make money doing this? Imagine that in my old business, I was in the advertising business. And I very quickly discovered that we were missing out on a revenue stream called promotional products, advertising specialties, giveaway stuff with your logo on it. So imagine for a minute that I came to you and I said this, Bob, thanks so much for meeting with me last week about your trade show and what you should give away in your trade show booth. We think you should give away ceramic coffee mugs. Let me tell you why. We could put your 15 logo color on one side and your mission statement on the other. And when people come into your booth, fill it with water. People are going to expect you to fill it with coffee, but in today's healthcare conscious world, let's fill it with water. Bob, what do you think? And my customers will look at me and go, great idea, Jeff. What else have you got? I'd say, no, you don't understand. I've been doing this for 15 years. What happens is this. We sell our ideas, and I mean internal or external. We sell like this. And if we hit hard enough, we win. Imagine the same scenario with what if. Bob, trade show, blah, blah, blah. What if you use ceramic cups for your next trade show giveaway? BYT, stop and listen. I just opened up a dialogue. Bob says, Jeff, I can't. I can't ship those coffee mugs across the country without them breaking. I say, well, Bob, what if we use plastic? He says, wait, what if we use a plastic beer stein? Because our theme this year is flow through ideas. And I say, yeah, what if we use a plastic beer stein that when you put cold water in, the logo changes color? And he says, yeah, why don't we use the old logo and it'll change to the new logo? Back and forth, until when I leave, what does Bob say to everybody with whom he works? Do you know? You're right if you said, I had a great idea. And I want to work with Jeff Tobe because something feels comfortable. See, here's the thing. I wasn't trying to pull the wool over Bob's eyes. I truly believe that coffee mugs were the right answer to his challenge. But if he doesn't believe it, it doesn't matter what I think. I walked in selling ceramic coffee mugs, and I walked out selling plastic beer steins. Why? Because somewhere in the conversation, I opened up the dialogue, and we both agreed that plastic beer steins just might be the second right answer to the exact same challenge of how do I give away, or what do I give away in my trade show booth? Remember the top of the rock? As long as Bob uses the tools I give him, and the goal, what do I give away in the trade show booth, doesn't change, who cares how we get there? And here's the power of it. It's sequential. It does not work by itself. What do I mean? Let's go back. It has to start with a problem. Your customer, internal or external, brings you a problem. The next question to tell them we're listening is what effect? What effect does that have on your family? What effect will that have on the organization? What effect will that have on our deadline? And you're going to hear things like, well, I hadn't really thought about it, but, or now that you mention it, and now what we do, what's the following question? What if? What if we could? Here's the thing. Too many people just try to use what ifing by itself, and don't do that. Why? Because if you use it by itself, a lot of suspicious people are saying in their minds, what's in it for him? He had an answer, and he just put what if in front of it. It's got to be problem, what effect, what if. Whew. You just went through a half-day workshop in the last 20 minutes. When we look at what ifing, what does it do? Change the environment, change the way you relate to your customer. It changes the way you present solutions. It gets others to buy into a mutually agreeable solution, and it eliminates all objections. No one can object because you came up with this mutual agreement. So they can't object to it now. All right. That's it. I hope that you enjoyed this version of Coloring Outside the Lines, the webinar. If you'd like a copy of the slides, or if you just want to start a dialogue with me, just email me. It's jeff@jefftobe.com. And until next time, keep coloring outside the lines.